Paul's going to be talking about a thing called Planbook, and the Planbook people have very kindly given us 3 12-month licenses to give away tonight, so we shall be firing them out at the end of the night. If you're not here, you don't get it. And that's about that. So without further ado, we'll get into the main event, which is the presentations. We're going to start off with a 7-minute, and I should have said to him when he came up to talk to me earlier on, Colin from the BBC, he's going to be kicking us off. I should have mentioned that.
Hello everybody.
Set up and then start the sound.
Okay. So airplay. Guest. And then it should ask you for a magic number, which will hopefully. There you go.
Hello everybody, my name is Colin and I work as a learning officer with the BBC, BBC Scotland Learning, and my job as learning officer is to be the kind of liaison between our production departments, the people who produce all of the different learning content around the BBC and the wider education sector in Scotland. And I'm here today to kind of just share with you a little bit about where we're going with some of our new content, what's going to be happening on our website in the next few months, and suggest a couple of next steps. If you are interested in getting yourselves or your learners involved with the BBC and giving us some advice basically about what we should be doing and how we should be developing new and better content to support what you do in class, but also to support your students maybe in using BBC content, whether it's on tablets or any other devices that you have in your schools. So first things first, I won't go to this slide. I'll go to Bite Size, which is something that we launched relatively recently. Everybody knows or is aware of Bite Size, which is a sort of simple revision. It's our platform for providing revision. With the introduction of the new qualifications in Scotland this year, we obviously had a really hard deadline in Scotland that we needed to have that content up and ready in time for when the new cohort of young people doing National 4 and National 5 are there. So as you can see on our Bite Size site at the moment, we have these slightly striking wee things with the different levels, both in Gaelic and in. So this is the first tranche basically of our bite-sized guides for these individual subjects for these qualifications in Scotland. As you can see, the site is a little bare. The reason for this is because the BBC are relaunching our website, bringing together all of our knowledge and learning content across the entire BBC. So there's a very large infrastructure rollout, and because we needed to have our content ready for when students went back to school in August, I've had to kind of put this stuff and make this stuff go live in the beta site. This site will change and will evolve over time. It will bring in more and more content from the BBC around it. What we have at the moment are kind of very simple basic guides, and they'll offer a good indication of, and I'll just show you basically quickly about how we've started to organise the content, which will give a good example about potentially where we're going. So let's have a look, say, National 5, Geography. These are the individual kind of subject headings that we have. So let's just go to this one, because I'm quite familiar with this particular area. So glaciated uplands. And you have a small revision chapter here. Again, the navigation is very, very basic. There are a few too many clicks. We realise that. This is our first go. And again, we're waiting for the site to get all the bells and whistles and stuff on it. This is basically what the content would look like. It's a short revision chapter. The first thing really to say is that the new Knowledge and Learning website, and this website, is optimized for 4 screens. So it's optimized for smart TV, desktop, laptop, mobile, and tablet. Is that 7 minutes? Okay, I'd really better get a wiggle on it. We're 4 in. So it's optimized finally for tablet. So we've got infographics, got a mix of video and written content. So again, we think it's really kind of accessible, and it's actually addressing learners' needs, you know, where and when they're particularly revising. As this is the first go, and this is kind of our major call of action, we're interested in user testing this with students So if you are interested in having a group of S4 students test this, tell us what they think about it, tell us what they think about the content, whether they think it will help them revise, help them retain their knowledge, or practice their skills. Please get in touch with me, and we'll follow that up. We'd be aiming to do kind of an active classroom activity over one period. It would just be 1 hour. We're obviously really conscious of the fact that S4s and yourselves have very little time with these new qualifications come in. The other thing, just to highlight quickly, is that yes, you have the bite-sized content. We've also got this classroom resources tab, and this looks at, this brings together all of the different class clips material under that subject heading, all in one place. So again, it's a good place if you are looking for content that you want to use on a tablet or whatever. They're all here. You can check through them. Again, we'll be doing retrospective mapping, not just for National 4 and 5, but back the way through the schools, so at 3rd and 4th level for secondary and back into primary as well. So this is what's coming in the coming months. We'll be us bringing together our content, kind of delivering it under subject headings so that you can find it or discover it a little bit easier. Again, optimized for tablets, so it's kind of easy to use and things like that. Interested in hearing any feedback that you have. And yes, I think that's about it. Okay. If people want a bonus 2 minutes, you can do it at the refreshment.
So, I would reiterate, Tom's been involved quite heavily in TeachMeets in his previous position, and he is very, very approachable. So if you are looking to get classes involved, get in touch with him. I can assure you he'll be most kind to you. I was going to get Cameron up next for a 7-minute from Dumfries and Galway to tell us about one-to-one tablet impact on learning in a multi-composite class. I can't thank both of our gentlemen from Dumfries and Galway enough for coming up to our second one again, straight after a hard day's work. And I'm very interested. They said when they arrived, they said, you know, we came up and drank the beer last time, and we didn't do anything. So we felt that this time we should offer something back. So looking forward to hearing what they've got to say. I won't start you until you're good to go.
Well, right, good evening. My name is Cameron Archibald. I teach at Bridekirk Primary down in Dumfries and Galway, and I want to talk to you about one-to-one tablets in my composite class. A little bit of background about the project. It's part of a pilot project. There's 5 primaries across Dumfries and Galway that have got iPads one-to-one. So at the end of last session we got 20 iPad minis, and that gave me a bit of time over the summer to do some homework, so that this term was really our first term to get going. My class is a P5 to 7. I've got 16 pupils of very mixed abilities. So I'm going to briefly touch on the challenges. I'd like to talk more about impact on learning. I think that's the most interesting part. Challenges, getting it set up. I've not seen a Mac computer since the early 90s, so that was a real shift. My wife got a present of an iPad at Easter, and I've been using it ever since, which has been a lot of work and a lot more time, but it's been required. The setup, the iPads don't go home at the moment, so that makes it a little bit easier. We use Apple Configurator. And so far it's been not too bad. Learning curve for me. We've had to write a new agreement that parents and pupils have had to sign. And also at first it was a challenge for our technical services because we didn't have any Wi-Fi, which obviously severely hampers things. But at times limitations make you more creative, so we were beaming a lot of stuff using Bluetooth. and everything was shared as a screenshot. We then got Wi-Fi, and it was unfiltered access. So we went from nothing to everything. It would be nice if we'd been in the middle, but that proved a challenge too. At the moment, we are piloting an app. We're going to be called MobiChip or MobiSip, which filters the content at the app end. The last bit I'll touch on is how you share things in class. That's been one of the most challenging things, how we share things between pupils, teachers, and out with class too, videos, music, how we're putting that on our blog and onto Twitter. So I'm going to steal Ian's thunder, I think, actually. He's going to be having a round table and talking about this modelless SEMR, SAMR thing. How do you call it? Is it SAMR or is it?
I'm calling it SAMR.
We'll call it SAMR, grand. Which is quite a good way to look at how technology impacts on learning in the classroom. So you've got 4 levels. At the bottom, substitution. The example there is we're going to be getting new calculators in our class because some of the batteries had leaked and knackered them. And I told the head teacher not to bother because we could just get a free app. Alright, so we're 15 quid in already. Next level up is augmentation. We'll talk about that in a second. Both of these two, it's about ICT to enhance learning. Whereas when you move up again, you're modifying and you're redefining, and that's where it becomes transformational. And if you get above that, you become Buddha, I believe. Thanks for laughing. So, let's go up to augmentation. So, this is all stuff we've done before in class, on netbooks, computers, cameras, microphones, video cameras, whatever it is. So letter writing in pages, you can do it on an iPad mini, and it's okay. Writing more than that, not so sure. P5 to 7's got small fingers. Researching on the web, obvious stuff. We've got iExcel. There's a primary contingent, and anyone else use iExcel to practice in maths. It's worth having a look at it. It's great for consolidating. Costs you though. The app's free, but it costs you. Coding, Hopscotch was one that I think Ian shared. He got free the other day there. Superb. We use accelerated reading as our reading scheme. There's an app there too, so we can just take a quiz. And e-readers as well, so we've got kids reading Kindles for books, sets of books. It's awesome. These things, as I said, we've all done before, but the functional improvement is how easy it is on these, and how little support the kids require with that, and how seamless it is. As someone who has always been interested in technology and always helped and supported the children, it's so much easier than the netbooks or the PCs. The one I want to touch on here is how we do our spelling. As part of our approach, we give word lists each week. We use, again, it's another web offering. It's called Spelling City, where you can set your class up. Again, it costs you, it's not very much, a couple of dollars a kid a year. And you set them up, and you assign them words, and you can also assign them activities, and it manages all that stuff. So that's all there. We've already been doing that, but the free app here makes it so much easier. What that does for me as a teacher in a composite class, where teaching time's valuable anywhere, but in a composite class it's golden. It gives me time to teach the group in front of me, while I say to another group, 15 minutes, go and do your spelling, that's your activity. I can leave them to get on with it. Later on at home I can check up and see what's happening, who's getting them right, who's getting them wrong, what's happening there. If kids are needing support, speak to them about it the next day. The last thing is that's the word list we use. That's from about 1932. So it's old meets new. That's the most effective word list that I've found. The Drive Phonic ones, other ones, that's the best one. There is an updated version. Next level up, modification. So this is where things are changing. Previously we did e-portfolios on Glow, which was a real challenge, I would say, with primary children. It required a lot of my time, and it was a lot of teaching. We're changing that. We are now using KidBlog, Again, it costs you, again, a couple of dollars per pupil a year, not a lot. But it's such an easier experience even on the web. The fact you've got the app though just really changes things. That's where the task redesign comes in, because it integrates with Google Drive, YouTube, all the different sound and audio you're using. It enriches the content that the children are able to put on their e-portfolio and make it a rich experience. Where it's also changing things is part of our homework. Each pupil in my class has got their own target for mental maths. I've got children who are working on number ones, I've got times tables, and I've got lots of other things that are doing problem solving too. So as part of that, for example, if they're working on a 9 times table for the week, they were learning that, whichever approach they were using. That would be part of the homework. In class, they would be given 10 minutes, go and practice, and they'd be using some of the maths apps. Ones I've mentioned here, you've got Math Bingo, you've got Quick Maths 1 and 2's just out, Operation Maths, Squeebles, Times Tables, and another Squeebles too. They're all brilliant where you can focus the learning onto if it is a 7 times table. So that's what they're practicing when I go and tell them to practice. And what I also get them to do is take a screenshot of the progress and share that in Google Drive, so that in a similar way to the spelling, the system is managing everything there. I can see what's happening when they're off working, when I'm teaching someone else, and see where the progress is and see what's needed to be supported. The last stage, redefinition. So things like brushes and sketches, obviously they are trying to represent what you're doing in art, but actually I think they give you another media. So for me that's redefining things. How we share things on Apple TV, how we give peer feedback, that's all completely redefined. The creative side, be it audio or video with GarageBand and iMovie and all the different Puppet Pals, brilliant apps that make literacy and actually any of the learning's just so much more fun. That's brilliant creative stuff. The last one is quite a specific one. I've got a pupil in primary 7 who's on an enhanced transition project who started, and he's making a video diary. And I know that he wouldn't have been able to do it given him a flip camera and a netbook and all the other stuff with loads of support. But with an iPad he can do it, and I think that speaks volumes. So a bit of wrap up here, I think. So the message is impact on learning. It's ICT to enhance and transform learning. And the bit for me where it has a real impact on the learning in my class is that the example of the spelling and the maths. The kids are off doing focused activities. They've got their own targets. It's all managed. That gives me time, and that time for me is golden in a composite class, and that's where the real impact is. Even out with class, there's less time on faffing around with my marking and checking this and leaving my books at home and all this stuff. It's all there, and it's all accessible as long as you've got Wi-Fi. And so it gives me more time both in class and out with, and I think that's been the biggest impact.
Fantastic to hear you up it down there. I'd actually booked Mr. Muir down for the next 2 minutes, but I was thinking maybe if we've heard from one of the Priest and Galloway people, maybe we should hear from the other one just right after. Get a geographic thing going on. Then you'll be able to just sit back and relax for the rest of the time.
That's grand, Ian, thank you.
No problem.
Well, folks, I'm from the dark side, you could say. I'm an education officer, commonly known as a quality improvement officer. But on the plus side, I was a music teacher in Glasgow for 20 years and had a great time with young people in Castlemilk and Postle Park and Pollock and all sorts of places. So I had a phenomenal career in Glasgow as a teacher. And now I've got a great opportunity into Priest and Galloway, and I've been there for the last 10 years working with schools. I am not an ICT expert, as Cameron would tell you, and he's more of an expert than I am. But what we did in January of this year was there was an opportunity to look at emerging technologies, as we should, and the best way to take that forward, we decided, was I wrote an email to all head teachers in all of our 100 primary schools. And I asked if they could propose to the pupils, if they were interested, in how could using a class set of iPads improve learning and teaching in your classroom. And I'm going to ask you a question. There was 100, now to 100 primary schools. How many respondents do you think are received? Given a window of 2 or 3 weeks to respond, yes, we'd love a class set of iPads. Anyone care to guess out of 100 how many came back saying, yes, we're up for that? Come on. Yes? 100. It wasn't 100, and it wasn't 4, and it wasn't 12. It was 18. It was 18, and I thought that was quite good. But the reason some ICT literate head teachers didn't go for it was, as Cameron said, there was no Wi-Fi in our classrooms, and our technology solutions people, bless them, and they are super people. It's been a big challenge as an education authority to persuade professionals in that department who deal with the corporate council to have Wi-Fi in the schools. It just was a non-starter. And so I have to say that I have, as politely as possible, done a Castle Milk and a Pollock and Apostle Park job on those folks in terms of saying, for a pilot to be meaningful and to work for us, we have to have Wi-Fi in the classroom. For Apple TV to work, we have to have Wi-Fi. So we did that. So we had 18 schools say we'd love to have it. And of course the resources were such that they knew it was only likely to be 1 or 2 schools that we were going to be doing this with. Turned out we did it with 5 schools. Cameron's school and Brightkirk have taken this forward in a big way, as have some of the other schools. But as with a sample of 5 schools, they all have different staff, different experiences, and different scenarios, different groups of kids. One small school of 11 kids, a class set, but one school of 32 kids in the class we gave a full set to. So we've had a big pilot, and we're only into it 3 or 4 months, and we're working really hard. Some of you might know, because you're interested in ICT, you'll know Stephen Heffel, some of you. And Stephen has been a good partner to Dumfries and Galloway, and was good enough to come and work with us through part of this, encouraging and working with the kids, and helping the selection process, because it was pupil-led bids that won the day. Because at the end of the day, pupil voice is so important when we're dealing with modern technologies. Chatting with Cameron on the way up the road tonight, we're just talking about the video opportunities young people have got on Snapchat that some of us won't even have heard of. My daughter does a 10-minute video, dear knows what she's doing with her pals on this 10-second video, and yet schools are nowhere with that. So there's been big challenges for us, but the principles that we've had with it have been to have a pupil voice, buy-in directly from schools that want to take part, and then also be willing to share and move forward that. We've also had to have, as Cameron touched on it, a new acceptable use policy, because if schools have got completely unfiltered access, you might be surprised to hear that the parents who've been told about this in their schools have been perfectly happy with that. Because if you think about it, 9 out of 10 of them have probably got unfiltered access at home. 9 out of 10 of them have, well, 10 out of 10 of them have possibly got unfiltered access in the playground. Why on earth would we want to batten down the hatches as soon as they walk into the protected environment? And so, while we look to the future, and maybe in 5 years' time, the government will have worked with ISPs and said, and everybody has to actively opt into violence and pornography, etc. At the moment, we feel it's appropriate for young people, or I certainly feel it's appropriate for young people, that we have unfiltered access and that youngsters are trained. And if they see something they really shouldn't, then they're in an environment where the teacher can take control and use it as a talking point and a sharing point. Anyway, I've probably gone over my 2 minutes, but I just wanted to get the opportunity. I'm grateful to Ian for that, and it really should have been me first and then the good bit, Cameron, afterwards, but thank you so much. Tom.
Running towards our break for the round tables, but I'm very conscious that some people have just managed to get themselves in. They must have been locked outside. Our network manager was talking to me when I came in today and giving me a big list of things that I had to tell David. But he had one thing to say to me. He said, last time when I was watching the video, he said, someone came up with their drink and he put it right on top of the projector. He said, so I'll be watching, and if anyone does that today, there'll be big trouble. But fortunately, so far, no one's been thinking of doing anything like that. The round tables we're going to run, there's going to be, for a start, we're not going to be round, and I don't think there's going to be tables. But there's going to be kind of 4 things going on, so we'll kind of split up the area. David, you need to be kind of this neck of the woods, do you? Or
That's
you
fine,
need to
no,
be
whatever. But yeah,
whatever.
here's fine.
Mr. Layton, up at the back here, he's going to be running something to do with backstage, what we've gone through as we've been kind of running our iPad pilot out and wanting to hear what other people have had. So I think we'll maybe put him in this wee square